Welcome to Working with Illustrator, and we're going to work with vector, photo, halftone, going from vector to Photoshop and then back to vector again with Photoshop effects all accumulated within layers or stacking effects. Something that you might do in Photoshop but we can bring back to Illustrator. What am I talking about? Well, here's just an example. I've just used some calligraphy text which was just done with a whack on. Could be type, could be any effect, even an image actually, but still. And we're just going to do something like, if I just go back here, click on the image and I'll just go paste in front. So if I just deselect that, here's a sort of an effect that we might do. And we could have a range of different effects. But the beauty is, with any of these things that I might work on, let's say I've got blue at this stage, I might want to make it green or red or magenta for that matter. Okay, and same with all of these colors. But these are Photoshop files and they're stacked over each other. I can reverse the order, do all sorts of things with them, and even make all these different effects. So how do we do that? Well, let's go on a little bit of a journey here, and you can see just how simple it is. What I'm going to do is I'm just going to get rid of these files, just to begin with, like so, and I'm just going to close my Illustrator, and we'll just take it out of view. I just want to actually get the graphic here, and let's just minimize that at the moment, and basically here's my Illustrator file here at the moment. Now what I might need to do is actually save it into place. So I might just open that one app up again, and I'm just going to just save that. Okay, now if you get any funny things going on there, I'm just going to go up here, and great, it's sorted itself out, and make sure that's just saved like so, and I'll just close it. So here's that file without anything on it. Now here are the files that I've made up in order to do that example. I'm just going to open up these in Photoshop just to quickly show you. So just to begin, as they're opening up, here's sort of the first file that I created by just playing with a few effects, and then the second one is just techniques here. Actually, it's just a flattened file as well. Now how can that be with a white background that comes into Illustrator? Well, we'll cover that very shortly, and then basically the third one is just another halftone screen effect. So these are halftone screens. Anyway, let's go back to the beginning here. So I'm just going to close these and just bring up just Photoshop. In fact, I won't bring up Photoshop. I'm just going to click outside here, and I'm just going to drag this straight onto my Photoshop here to get things going. It's coming in at about 300 dpi. That's great. I'll just go OK, so it's a good file. A little bit close to the edge here. First thing I might want to do is just image size. I think I'll just take it to about 25, so I've got a good amount of space around it. And just for the height, oh actually I'd better just undo that a little bit. One mistake I made there is not the image size, but just under, basically below that, we've got canvas size. I need to get more room around the edge. So let's just quickly do that again. 25 and maybe just 22 should suffice. That's great. It's quite a big file size, so I might even just take the image down a little bit because I don't need it to be too big. The resolution's not so critical with this one, and it's ample size anyway, so just image size. Now I'm going to bring the whole thing down. I'm just going to make it about 200. That's fine. Okay, it's about half the resolution size, so I'll just bring it up maybe just a little bit here. Now what I'm going to do is, we can lock pixels if you've seen any of the earlier movies, but if not, this is what we do here. So just to lock a pixel, I'm going to lock it, but just before I do that, I'm just going to save this one, or just back it up. And I'll just turn the, I think I'll just turn the top pixel off there, and just go down to the bottom one. We'll do a bottom effect first. Okay, what I'm going to do here is I'm going to lock the pixel. So I click here, and now we've got this lock just there. Okay. So I want to put just a screen on this file. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to come down here. I've just got my black and white halftone screen and just drag out a screen. Voila, we've got a screen in here. Now this is only affecting the locked area, no matter what sort of effect I put in here. It won't affect any of the pixel based areas. So just up in here in the pixels, or sorry, filters, I'm going to come down here. Just want to give it a little bit of noise to get things going. So here I'm just going to go to noise and just add some noise. and I've got about 65. That'll be great. So I'll go OK. Now I'm going to unlock this one. Sorry, not turn it off, but unlock. So it's now unlocked. And it's going to affect everything now. And I just want to give it a little bit of a filter effect, just to do something a little bit interesting. I'm just going to think I'll just go up here, and I'm going to go into, let's see, I'll just go to the blur, and I just want to give it a sort of spin to it. So blur, radio blur, and I'm just going to use a bit of a spin. Well, I've got about 10 there. We can use zoom effects, whatever. Just going to stay on good and just go OK with 10 to see how that looks. Okay, that's great. It's really blurring off the side, but we can still see it just a little bit. Okay, so that's my first effect here. Now I could just play with that and bring it in its own standard alone sort of effect as well, but I'm going to combine a few things to show that you can first of all do some layered stuff in Photoshop and then do it layered in vector afterwards. Anyway, so now I'm going to turn on my top layer, so it's sort of sharpened up there, and I'm going to do the same thing with this file now. I'm going to leave the file below visible so I can see what's going on. I'm going to just lock the pixels, make sure I select that. Haven't named it yet, perhaps I should, but I'll just do that. I'll just call it top, just so I know what's going on there. And I'm just going to make sure the pixels are locked. Here they are locked. Whoops, do it again. I want to turn it off. And let's go through and do a similar sort of thing again. This time I'm just going to go from the other way. I've got my halftone screen that goes up the other way just a little bit here. Okay, so what I'm going to do now is I'm going to basically make sure this is saved. So I'm going to go save as, just so I don't destroy it. I'll think, I'll just call this test. Okay, I'm just going to save it to desktop, and there it is saved. Okay, so I've got my file here, I've got my two layers here, but I want to start sort of combining things in different ways. Now, of course, we can go through and play with darken, blending modes, all sorts of things that you can actually really test out to get whatever sort of effect you want. Okay, it's something that you can discover with this. But I'm just going to keep it really simple for what I'm doing. As you can see, you can do lots and lots of different things. I'm just going to stay with normal here. And what I want to do with this one is I'm just going to save it out as its own file here. Okay, so it's saved, and if not, make sure you file save it. And I'm just going to save this as is, because I want to keep this sort of edge effect on there, as is, just to add a little bit of variety to it. But I'm going to go now to my image, mode, and I want to take it to a bitmap. You might say, well, you can't do that because it's grey. Well, to do a bitmap, first of all, we go to grayscale. I'm going to merge the layers, because it doesn't really matter with what I'm doing here. Okay, discard the color information because it's grayscale, and then I can go back to my bitmap mode, and I'm just going to flatten them. Now, what you see it's coming up here, yours is probably 200 or 300 by default. Make this 600. Now, what this means, this is like the printer resolution. Don't think of it as the image pixel rate, 300 being a really good file to print. To be honest with you, a really good quality 300 file, when you print it, is actually going out to a plate or film of about 2,400 LPI, lines per inch. This is about, or this is what your printer does. Okay, now, but 600 is going to be fine for what I'm doing. But this is the graphics, or tiny little raster lines, or images, or dots that actually get made up into bigger dots. Sounds confusing? I suppose it is a little bit, but I've also in my halftone area here. Okay. Anyway, 600, just 200 DPI image, I'll go OK. Now what I want to do, and this I've already previously set this up, this might be 53 degrees, frequency, whatever, but I want to play with a special line effect. So instead of just dots or whatever, I want to do a line effect here. Okay? And I've got a screen that I previously put in of 120. This is the degrees, the angle. And I'm just lines per inch here. So I'm just going to go, OK. So you see what we're starting to get here, even these quite cool effects that come out. Now I'm going to just save this one by going File, Save As, and I'm going to call it Test _1. And I'll just save that to my desktop for the time being. So that's done. Great. I've saved a different file, but I don't want to use this as is. I want to go back and use the other layer that I had. So what do? So I'll come back into here, and I'm just going to go blending mode until I go back and I can see both my files, both my layers. So I'm just going to bring it up again. I'm going to turn the top one off. So I've got this really cool effect, and I'm going to do the same thing again. File, mode, grayscale, merge it, that'd be great. Okay. Of course, I didn't have to have any layers or all layers selected. You could have had several different effects and turn them all off just so you can build up things very subtly. But I just wanted to get that combination effect. The point is you can do anything you want, and it's good to play to actually test and get the best variation you can. Anyway, here we are back to the file here. I'm just simply going to do the same thing again, image, mode, and bitmap, because I can now, it's a grayscale. And go OK. And 600 halftone screen, great. But hey, I don't want this one. I'm now going to change this back to a 45-degree angle. This is the standard angle when you do degrees. I think I'm going to leave it at about 10 because I want to make it really obvious. But I'm going to change it to round dot now and just go OK. And see, we're getting a different effect again. And I'm going to go File, and I'm going to Save As, and I'm going to call this _test2. Okay, and I'm just going to save this straight to my desktop. Okay, so I can just close this now, or I can leave it as saved, but I don't want to. In fact, it's been saved as 2. I don't really need it anymore, but I'm just going to close that, and I'm going to come back to my calligraphy Illustrator file here and just open that up. Now, these are slightly different files. In fact, I should bring them in, but just like that, we've got variation, so I have to just locate my desktop files, just so they're different ones. I'll open this up. Here's the calligraphy file. What I'm going to do now is I'm just going to go File. Now, when you bring any Photoshop files into Illustrator and InDesign, you place them. And it's really good to work as a PSD, a Photoshop format. It doesn't have to be layered. In fact, sometimes it's good to keep it just one layer or one transparent layer if you've got transparent backgrounds, or just an image, because it's the best way to work with. Not really JPEGs, okay, perhaps digital magazines and things like that, but really if you're working with print, keep it as a Photoshop. We don't want to lose quality by going to a joint photographic expert group, which is a lossy format, a JPEG. Anyway, let's place. I'm going to place both of these in. So just down here, we've got test 1. I'll place this in, and I'll just click here. Now here I am bringing this first based image in here. Now I can work with both images. I can also grab another color. So here I've got some yellow coming in. Could be blue or whatever you want. Okay. So we've got this file here. I'm now going to just put in the next one. So I'm just going to go File, Place, and I'm going to bring in my test 2. Let's just place that in. This is probably a little bit more dynamic in terms of its tone. Okay, and now I'll go back to, say, a red or a yellow even to really pick it up. Okay, so there's just one way that you can actually really start creating some cool stuff with fonts, or images for that matter, that just take you a little bit beyond the norm. And we've gone from vector to Photoshop, layers, and then back to layered vector files once again. So thanks for watching.